something that people what I think is a crazy bet. And Brian, and Frank, you guys might disagree, but Nolan, your piece that you wrote about cryptocurrency, I think hit the nail on the head. And I've been saying this. It was nice to see you say it in your blog much more eloquently than I could ever say it. That with cryptocurrency, you're buying nothing.
Yeah, and again, I please interrupt me. Take exception to what I'm saying. Be offended. Whatever you want to say. I am thrilled for those who have taken advantage of what I call phantom market promotional economics, bait and switch, pump and dump. Hey, that's the game.
Right.
Some people play the game of sports betting, of poker, of stock invest. It. Some people play this game very, very well. Congratulations to those of you who have done well. I get that. The problem with cryptocurrency, not so much Bitcoin. Bitcoin has obviously a little more legitimacy.
Barely.
But the other 1,600, 1,700 junk chicken I can't say the word, but I can say chicken shit. It's chicken shit. These guys who get on there and they promote their whatever, they got a vested position. The only way they can make money is they invest their whatever in a penny stock, a junk bond, and they look for the next generation of suckers. That's the only way that this thing plays out and makes a profit. The only way. I understand the macroeconomic virtues ideology of libertarianism, of a decentralized currency. I hate the banks. I despise them. I'd love to see them go down. I'd love to see. This is a movement. This is a global movement. It's a religion. The problem is it's a religion of Scientology. Those who disagree, those who ask questions, those who take exception to what's there, they are banished. They become heathens. They become excommunicated. Here's the fundamental thing.
like a cult.
Wait a minute.
Shot, yeah.
If you're not asking questions of when you're investing in bullshit coin, if you're not asking questions, then there's something wrong and you deserve to lose your money.
Yeah, I mean, well, let me ask you right now. Let's say right now, Nolan, you had $500,000 in your 401k.
I'll take it.
Would you rather have it invested in gold Canadian Maple Leafs or in Doggy Coin, or in Monero, or in one of these, or some Russian crypto coin? Would you feel safer with having, like, let's say 300 Canadian Maple Leaf, 1 ounce Maple Leafs?
I lost so much money on the Toronto Maple Leafs playing
you
the
did?
Sabres
Oh,
on
okay.
Monday
Well,
night.
let's go
It's
the
not
crew.
even
No,
funny. I was laying 305
but
on
but
the Maple
you see, like,
Leafs against the Sabres.
but-
Don't say the Maple Leafs.
No, but I feel, but truthfully, like, when you're talking about cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
I feel like the Ralph Cramden. I don't know if you ever watched The Honeymooners.
What do you mean by that?
Because even ask Brian, we had a guy in our circle that we went out to we used to go to our annual Green Valley Ranch steak dinner meeting with all of our guys 6 or 7 years ago. Tell us about Bitcoin when it was at $1 a coin.
Right.
And it's a sharp guy. He's a sharp guy, Brian's buddy, sharp guy. And we looked at each other and said, "Are you crazy? We're going to invest in this air currency,
Air currency.
this and that built on the human honor system. You got to be out of your mind. It was $1." And I said, I don't think so. I would never do nothing like that. So I feel like, you remember The Honeymooners? I feel like Ralph Cramden. So
To the moon, Alice!
yeah. So I'm not going to say anything more about crypto because you couldn't be any wronger than me.
Well,
We're all-
the only thing I want to say is Las Vegas Chris, who was on the show earlier, pointed out a great article earlier today to us all.
Right.
96% of 96%
Yeah,
of
Bitcoin
Bitcoin
is-
is held by 4% of Bitcoin owners,
Yeah.
and that tells me that whatever your investment is, it's being manipulated terribly. One of the things that I find, and Brian, I'm going to really want to get your take on this in a second. One of the things that I find is if you mention anything about Bitcoin negatively, positively, well, negatively, and say the things, Nolan, that you and I are saying, which is, look, the US dollar is not on a gold standard for sure. It was on a gold standard. It came off a gold standard. Now the full faith and credit of this nation and its economy backs the US dollar. Bitcoin is not backed by anything in particular. There's nothing backing it. It's
backed
ether.
by a dream.
It's backed by a dream. Now, if you start saying that to people and saying, "Oh well, it's going to do," I think it's going to go to zero at some point. Okay, you will get people yelling and screaming at you. They're either one of two groups of people. They're either the people that bought when it was at $1 and have enjoyed the run up immensely to 20,000 or whatever, or the people that bought in, like somebody I know who felt in November he was losing out and bought Bitcoin at 10,000. And as soon as you say anything bad about it, they jump all over you because they don't want that negativity to go out and have it drop even more. So everybody has a vested interest in not being impartial about whether Bitcoin is real or if it's just bullshit. And, from my perspective, it's bullshit. It's the type of thing that's
you
created.
have no vested interest.
I have no vested interest.
I have zero vested interest. And Frank has zero vested interest. By the way, real quick, yes, the people that are advocates of this do have a vested interest. It's pump and dump. It's, hey, look here behind the magic curtain and look you can get rich too.
Pump and dump is fun when you're at Sapphire.
Yeah.
But no.
it's all right. So listen. I got a lot more to say, but before I do, please, Brian, will you illuminate us with your?
But by the way, Brian, if you want to know how really serious, because Nolan was talking to us earlier, he sends out one tweet negatively against Bitcoin, he gets 500 tweets talking bad about his parents within 5 minutes.
Oh, I've had my life threatened.
Terrible. He's got his life threatened on it. So.
That's unbelievable. Well,
but
here are my thoughts. Whether you believe in Bitcoin or not, the architecture that it's built upon, right, the blockchain technology architecture is going to change our society.
Agreed.
It's an incredible development, if nothing else. I know that people like to look at the tulip, phenomenon in Holland in the 1600s or whatever as a analogy. I don't think it's a valid analogy. I think this is truly an experiment for which we have no precedent to look back on. And I don't know what the value. I think when it touched $20,000 of Bitcoin, of course that was irrational. And I don't know where Bitcoin should be, but I think it is a game-changing tool in terms of how people move money around the world without banks. Maybe the price of a Bitcoin should only be $100. Maybe it should be $1. Maybe it should be 100,000. That's a question that will take decades to resolve. But I think it is I think it's a game-changing technology. And in terms of the full faith and credit of the U.S., I'm not sure that I'm a huge, that doesn't really change things in my mind, because there's a couple of things with fiat currency in particular, but the U.S. currency, or in general, I'd say, in the U.S. currency in particular, that are different than Bitcoin, right? We know that Bitcoin, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. There are some cryptocurrencies where more cryptocurrencies can be mined. We don't have a set or finite amount, but in the case of Bitcoin, we know exactly how many Bitcoins can be mined. There's nothing to stop the U.S. Treasury from printing money 24/7 over the next 30, 40 years. So that's an appealing aspect of Bitcoin. And I think that people were silly to pour their life savings into Bitcoin, and I'm sorry they did. But I think there's a use for Bitcoin, and I don't know that it's a great place to put your life savings or your retirement into. But
well, Brian, what happens when 99% of the Bitcoins that are out there are owned by 3 people?
Well,
and
I think
because that's inevitably what's going to happen.
I don't think so.
Well, apparently right now, 96% of the Bitcoins are owned by 4% of the Bitcoin owners out there.
Well, it's possible that a lot of the original Bitcoins have been lost. We still haven't determined for sure who Satoshi. I forgot the name. What is the name? Satoshi, the inventor of Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, it's the guy that makes the cigar, Hiroki Robena.
Yeah. Yeah, look. I don't think there's a slam dunk argument on either side of this debate. I think that in terms of valuation of Bitcoin, I'm the last guy to tell you with any degree of certainty where the price is heading, but I think it's a invaluable tool for storing and moving money around the world. And
now, when you said,
I guess I'm a little bit of a libertarian in that sense.
Yeah, but I mean, storing and moving money at what value? I mean, because look, no one is using Bitcoin, or the very few people are using Bitcoin day to day. Today, let's see, what did I buy today? I went on to Steam. I bought my kid a game. They wouldn't take Bitcoin. I went and got gas earlier yesterday. They don't take Bitcoin. I go to Sam's Club. They don't take Bitcoin. So, at some point, Bitcoin has to be converted into a currency that people you can actually do something with. And as long as the Bitcoin value is fluctuating as crazily as it is, who in their right mind would want to even park Bitcoin on a plane to send, I'm using figuratively because it's obviously a digital currency, but even for 24 hours, because the value is going to be so crazy tomorrow.
Okay, I get that, but it's still, first of all, you're right. The instability in the price is a huge disincentive for people to adopt Bitcoin as a tool for everyday retail business, and that's going to take some time to resolve. The other problem, if you were doing anything with Bitcoin, say 3 months ago when the price went nuts, the architecture of the Bitcoin is such that the transaction costs become very expensive when there's lots of volume, in Bitcoin. So it's not feasible to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. The transaction cost could be greater than the actual value of the Bitcoin.
What a surprise.
Now, Brian, when you said about lost Bitcoins, does that mean like people who had a wallet ID and then couldn't remember it and things like that, and they're just gone?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Bitcoin is definitely if you're the kind of guy that makes a new Yahoo account and can't remember your password 24 hours later, Bitcoin might not be for you.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's my problem.
So how many floating? What would you think?
Lost. There's no way to get the money. It's not like somebody has a bank account and they die, and then the money sits there and it whatever it becomes.
There's no accountability.
The
no
money
one's
completely is floating, and it's.
So if you lost your wallet, people that lost their wallet ID or didn't do that, how many do you think could be possibly out there just floating in space?
Boy, that's a great question. It's significant. I don't know what that number is.
It's like casino chips. But you got 2 or 3% never cash their chips. You know what I mean? People lose them.
Sure. Good analogy.
Tickets are lost.
Yeah,
it's all happening.
Right. So let me tell you the biggest difference, Nolan. The biggest difference is the other day I was poking through my an old humidor I have, which I use for junk business cards and stuff like that are old, and I found two old $5 chips. I'm sorry, what was that, Brian?
And baseballs.
Yes, exactly. And I found 2 old $5 chips from the Rio from back in the day, Nolan. You know what? When I was in the Rio, I took them in and they cashed them.
Right.
$5, $10. Probably. And if I found 2 Bitcoin in my wallet, I might have bought those damn things at $15,000, and I go to cash them, and they're worth $50.
But
so I mean, it's a crazy, crazy situation. That the only people I know, and I'll repeat it, that are advocates are smug SOBs that bought Bitcoin when it was at $1, who want everybody to be as excited about it as they are so they can get their Lambo paid for, okay, rather than people that are seriously investing. Nolan, I'm with you. When I hear on the radio or on the TV, hey, now Bitcoin is the most exciting thing in the history of the financial markets and technology, be sure... Go to your 401k is never going to be up to date. Move your money to Bitcoin 401k.
You're not making this up.
No, I'm not making
I've
this
seen
up.
the ads.
Yeah.
They want people to take their 401ks, their retirement accounts, second mortgage on your house. I'm not making this up. I've seen the ads.
Scary.
It's scary. Lives can be ruined by this. Listen, gentlemen. We're talking. We're sitting on a sports betting show, okay?
Right.
It's about
no, but
we
it's about
understand
money
speculation.
here.
We understand taking a gamble, a flyer. I got no problem with somebody coming in and putting something on 17 red on a roulette. I get that there's a gamble. There's a certain element. I get that, but don't talk about this thing as something legitimately as a currency exchange or as a stock or as an investment or, God forbid, as something you can retire on.
No.
That's insanity.
But the one comment I do have, Frank, sorry to interrupt. I do have a comment on those. The one comment I do have on this coming from Twitch at twitch.com or twitch.tv/Fifth Street Sports is Shah's2499 says quite simply, Bry is smart. End of story.
Yes, it is. Look at that.
That's my mother, by the way.
You know, you're going to get like a cult following.
Well, we know that.
Hey,
That's why he's on the air.
I will say this, okay? And I'm not saying that people should put money into Bitcoin. I don't have anything in Bitcoin right now, but you know, we have a different perspective on the world than somebody say. Let's imagine we weren't here in the States. Let's say you live in Argentina or, you know, Venezuela or some country with, you know, rapid inflation, and your choice is leaving your money in the state currency that, you know, that your money would ordinarily be stored in, or trying to move into Bitcoin. That those are your two choices. I'm not sure that's an easy decision.
Just a second, Brian. I want to get on one. Just give me the next couple of minutes with you because, and I'll be short, and I want you to respond. I totally get the advantages of blockchain. I agree that that's a game changer. I get that totally. I also agree with you in terms of, I call them third world countries that don't have banking institutions and essentially safe domestic currencies or even relatively safe political situations. That, yeah, you have money, maybe you've been a shopkeeper in Zimbabwe. What do you do with your money? You can't put it, because there's a risk. I totally get a lot of what you're saying. And I believe that there's actually a market for kind of a Bitcoin type thing. I get that. Here's the problem. I'm not so sure I really have so much of a problem with Bitcoin. What I have a problem with is the 1,699 other junk things who have tried to essentially take Bitcoin and reconstitute it, reinvent it, mine their, and now everybody thinks they're going to be the next Bitcoin. And this to me is the enormous problem of it's fraud. People should be locked up. There needs to be regulation. This is a horrible thing. I'm completely with you in terms of decentralized exchanges, and I get that. I think that's a very good thing. And you need to separate that, which is what you're saying, Brian, I believe, versus invest in this coin that's worth 0.22 cents on the dollar. It's going to be the next Bitcoin. But just, by the way, which is all of what I see pretty much on Twitter. Position holders pumping and hopefully dumping if they can find enough suckers to invest in this garbage.
All right, I tell you what, guys. Brian, Brian, hold that thought a second.
Okay.
Hold that thought a second. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break, stretch our legs. We're going to come back and we're going to continue.
No, we're not going to argue for 3 more minutes.
But Brian, but really quick. So you're going to tell me right now, Brian, that a 9-year-old kid that can get on his grandfather's laptop, that his grandfather bought Bitcoin when it was $1, he invested $1,000 in it, and forgot all about his password. And this little 9-year-old like retrieves his password, his wallet ID, could have like $20 million. Like this little 9-year-old kid that retrieved a wallet ID can be a millionaire.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's kind of an extreme example.
No,
I bet there's a case.
But I know that. But isn't there a central thing? Like, let's say, for instance, there's 15 million Bitcoins or however many there are, and then there's they're like somebody is looking at the accounting, and they say like, wow, look at these 49,700 Bitcoins that have had like no movement ever.
Oh, we do that. Like that's a common that's a big part of blockchain analysis. We have Bitcoins that haven't moved in 5-6 years, and we have entire blocks of the blockchain that haven't moved since they were created, and people speculate who do these belong to.
Right, like in the heyday when it was 25 cents or 50 cents, you can't tell me that a guy invested like $200 and got like 400 Bitcoins and forgot his wallet ID.
I got a great story for you.
Brian, hold that. Let's take a quick break. Okay. We'll come right back in just a couple of minutes.